Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back to your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP as well as the entire financial system. And I do want to start off with, what's happening right now. So, taking a step back, going all the way back to 2008, I do have 3 articles here from 2008. But I just want to mention that as we focus on assets and specific, projects within crypto, um, I've always brought up XRP because XRP, in my opinion, can solve a lot of the inefficiencies around the banking sector. Um, a lot of people want to focus on Bitcoin, and yes, I'm going to be talking about the 90-day $1 million Bitcoin prediction, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. We'll talk about that. I think a lot of people get distracted by Bitcoin. In my opinion, crypto is much larger than Bitcoin. I don't believe that Bitcoin is the, you know, be all, see all. I think that as we really focus on a lot of these other projects, utility grade projects, I think that these are going to be the ones that ultimately change everyday life. I think that these are the projects that will ultimately, be worth a lot more than anyone can ever imagine because of the utility behind them, because of the efficiency, the power, the potential, etc. And I think that banking, understanding the banking sector, understanding what causes these major collapses, understanding why these collapses happen, um, and realizing that a lot of it is just liquidity. The bank run that recently happened, it's all liquidity because these banks, one, are also leveraging client funds, aka your funds. They're leveraging and playing with our money, and when we see a significant amount of money being, fully withdrawed, guess what? A bank run happens. And then from there on out, we start to see the contagion effects spread pretty quickly. So, solving for X, if you will, liquidity, you solve a lot of the inefficiencies around the banking sector, which is also why I believe that tokens like XRP will drastically increase in value because their use case potential is so vast. But it all depends on if they will be utilized. And in my opinion, I 100% believe that XRP will be utilized on a much greater scale than anyone could ever imagine. But let's take a step back and let's go back to 2008. So this was a post from the New York Times. This was from October 14th, 2008. Sorry, I was about to say 2018. Drama behind a $250 billion banking deal. Now, we already know that there has been a $300 billion change in the Fed's reserves. I do believe that that was to, bring more liquidity into the system, but also prepare for more bailouts. We also know that the Fed wants to inject $2 trillion into the system, which is insane, especially at times like today. But also, we did see this. US considers cash injections into banks October 9th, 2008. We are basically seeing a repeat of this. But this was just a $700 billion bailout. That was it. Today, it's $2 trillion. Wild. And then last but not least, this was behind a paywall, but we do see Bank of America to cut 35,000 jobs over 3 years. We just reported on UBS. They will have to cut 10,000 jobs, lay off 10,000 people. The deal goes through with Credit Suisse. We are living in times that we've seen before. History doesn't always repeat, it rhymes. I think that this event could be much larger than 2008 because of the issues that we are dealing with. I think also with how much money that we are planning to inject, it could only spell recipe for disaster. But today more than ever, I think everyone should have this tab open on your computer. Um, if you can't watch it all day, okay. I do think everyone should be focused on this. Check it during the day, check it when you can, but this is the major banks. We have been watching this closely. We have been preparing for this to really open on Monday, aka today, because we started to see a drastic decrease in banking stocks. Some of these were down double digit plus, and we still see some of them down double digit plus, but these have not been open since Friday. So I'm very interested to see what these look like. These are some of the largest banks out there. I mean, if you go by market cap, still some of the top ones are down drastically. Even Santander, right? Down 6.5%. And some of these other ones are down drastically as well. And if you look at their charts, like for an example, I'll just grab Santander for an example. If you look at some of these charts for these banks, I mean, it's wild on where we are at currently because even going all the way back to 2008, like here's 2008, here's 2007 as well. I mean, where we are at currently, this could just be the start. I mean, technically speaking, if you look back in time, we could be at this point where we do get, maybe we get a little bit of an impulse back to the top here. But look at what can happen going forward on. I mean, in my opinion, the banking sector is not done. It is not finished. We will continue to see the banking sector get hammered continuously going forward on in time. And I think it's only a matter of time until we start to see things really start cracking and breaking. We do see over here from Zero Hedge bank failures. Look at this. This is where we are at now. Look at back in 2007, 2008. So the line straight is number of problem banks. And then we have the dash line. This is the assets of problem banks. Look at the number of problem banks skyrocket from 2007 to 2008. And then we also seen it drastically increase in 2009 and then also 2010. It did not bounce back or even slow down until 2018. And look at where we are at now. In my opinion, our timeline here could either be at the end of 2006 or the beginning of 2006. Where do you think we are? Comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But in my opinion, this chart is telling us that we haven't even started. If you could imagine a world where things look like 2008 now, I believe that it's going to be a lot worse than 2008. I've said it time and time again in the past. You'll see reports that are saying that it won't even be close to 2008, but in my opinion, it will be a lot worse. And we even do see over here from this was from Bloomberg. This just got posted on the 18th. MidSize U.S. banks ask FDIC to insure deposits for 2 years. Financial system risk, more bank runs without aid, group says. Deposits have been moving into firms seen as too big to fail. I'm telling you right now, we are seeing history repeating essentially. I mean, you want to say this is the start. I think that things are going to get a lot worse very, very soon. Like I said, it doesn't always repeat, it rhymes, but I mean, the problems are still here. The problems are repeating. We haven't learned from our mistakes. And, you could only ask yourself so many times in the past and even today, what are we doing? What are we doing? Is this on purpose? Are they trying to destroy our economy just to usher in the new one? Because that's what a lot of people think, including myself. I believe that this is all by plan. Let me know what you guys think. But we do see over here as well. I tweeted out yesterday. I said, this is the moment crypto proves how resilient it is against the traditional banking sector. It is going to get interesting very fast. Get ready for this week. I believe that this week and the rest of this month is going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And we do see over here as well. This was an article that got posted by Michael Branch over on Twitter. BlackRock chairman Larry Fink thinks the financial markets are still on the edge. Yeah, I think that this is just the start. Like I said, all of this is playing into something much larger. Fink questioned in the asset liability sector will be the next to fail in a follow up crisis. The financial sector is haunted by unsustainable policies of past years. 100%. Now, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the $1 million Bitcoin prediction in 90 days. Absolutely ridiculous. But we do see, not sure about $1 million, but sure as hell that the world is waking up to the US dollar scam. During the last weeks, I've talked to bankers, lawyers, etc., who are smart but trusted the fiat system. They are now realizing Bitcoin is the true store of value. Now, again, Bitcoin maxis, you can't there's no point in arguing with them. But I will say this. I do think that Bitcoin could have a significant price move behind it. Essentially this got posted by Bilalhi. I hope that I'm saying that name right. I'm probably not, but we do see the bit signal. How do you ring the fire alarm on the internet? How do you show it's not a false alarm? I'm putting up the bit signal, $1 million in Bitcoin to alert us to the stealth financial crisis. $1,000 per tweet for the best 1,000. Reply with your charts, graphs, stats, memes, etc. And he just basically continued to go on about this. But essentially, he talked about why this could essentially happen. He's talking because of the central bank, the banks, and the bank regulators have bankrupted all of us. They hid their insolvency from you, the depositors, and they're about to print $2 trillion to hyperinflate the dollar. In the digital age, this will happen very quickly. So buy Bitcoin now and get your coins off of exchanges. 100% I do agree with getting your coins off of exchanges and also getting your money out of banks. I don't trust banks at all. Banks are not your friend. I've always said this. But we do see making Bitcoin moon is the way we send the fire alarm to the rest of the world that the Fed is hyperinflating the dollar, and moon means memes. So his idea of talking about $1 million for Bitcoin in 90 days is basically nonsense. I even said it like, main reason behind the $1 million Bitcoin calls, in my opinion, is to generate hype slash attention. It's ridiculous to think Bitcoin can skyrocket to $1 million in 90 days. I do, however, believe we could see new all time highs by quarter three. Where do we top? Who knows? Don't really care. I will be profit taking this year. I've always said it. I do think that by quarter three, we will most likely see our topping point for crypto. I do think that Bitcoin could see $150,000. Could it see $150,000 this year? It's questionable. I think that it could see close to 100K if we do make a new all-time high. Again, keyword there is if. There's still a long way that we need to go in order for Bitcoin to confirm that it's making a new all-time high. One, we actually need to see a new all-time high, but there's still a lot of resistance that we need to get through. But I do think that this year is going to be very, very good for crypto because of the scenarios that we have in front of us. But we do see here this can't be kicked any longer. The crisis won't be like the others. BTFP was $25 billion on March 12th, then suddenly $2 trillion on March 16th. In reality, it's unlimited. Holding assets in dollars anywhere means devaluation, but Bitcoin is a global safe haven. Now, again, I do think that a lot of what we are seeing around crypto and around gold as well is a lot of people moving their money from US dollars into assets that they feel are going to be a good hedge against the US dollar dropping drastically in value, as well as the banking system collapse. And we do see down here, in case you don't comprehend how serious the US banking problem is, here's the balance sheet. These loans are newly printed money or a form of quantitative easing. They increased the Fed's balance sheet by $300 billion. In other words, in just 1 week, the Fed reversed roughly half of all the QT it accomplished over the past year. And yeah, it's been rough. And I really do think that everyone should pay attention to what's happening right now, especially with the $2 trillion, right? I think that this $2 trillion, in terms of like injections, it reminds me of what we recently seen in the past with the $700 billion that they wanted to inject into the system. But this is on a much larger scale, which guess what means that we will see a much larger aftermath. And I do think that this is only going to end bad for the traditional system, which is why I've said many, many times to anyone out there, get your money out of the bank. put it into assets you feel will gain value. I do think that gold is a great opportunity. I think silver is a great opportunity. And I do believe that crypto will generate a lot of cash for those that are extremely vigilant, as well as you know, they see the value in profit taking when profits are just too great to ignore. But I also think that stocks will rally as well, certain ones, obviously. But we did see over here from Kevin Cage, and I did agree with this one. I actually quoted it. But he said, "Imagine this narrative playing out over the next 12 months. Other large banks fail; those with cash left flock to crypto." And yeah, this was talking about the 186 banks that were facing, the overall problem at hand. That was, again, the same issue that Silicon Valley Bank faced. So as we do focus on this, like, yeah, I think that the narrative is set. And in fact, on the dollar, I did do some TA on the dollar recently where I was mentioning where we could go on the US dollar, and it was both down. And we're still looking at this. I'm still watching this. And remember that the dollar is a great way of seeing where the market is headed. This is also why I do think that everyone that was shorting Bitcoin on the low here in December and November, and even at the January timeframe push, was absolutely idiotic. Why? Well, because we already had a clear topping point on the dollar back in September, right? And from September on, so here's September. Um, from September on, we dropped about 12.20%. To give you guys a quick insight, Bitcoin only dropped. Well, I shouldn't say only dropped because it was still pretty significant. It was about 30%. Now, after that, what we did see was a major gain of about 54%. And this is because of where the dollar is at, where the banking sector is at, what's happening around the world. I mean, most people are looking at other investment opportunities. By the way, this isn't Bitcoin. I just thought I apologize. I thought that I had the Bitcoin price chart open, but this is actually the total. But still, the total is a perfect chart to look at as well. But here is Bitcoin, just to give you guys a quick insight. So on Bitcoin, as we do look at the September timeframe, so here's the topping point for the US dollar. Bitcoin dropped about 31%. So, like I said, very, very similar. But nonetheless, the reason why I have the total here is because this does include XRP. It also includes all of our other assets. As we do look back in time, you could see when money started to flow into crypto. Here's March of 2020. Obviously, March of 2020 was a great example of just how money flows. So we did see the dollar drop drastically from its topping point back in March of 2020. It dropped about 13.5%. What did crypto do? Crypto went on a massive tear. I mean, this thing did roughly a 2,000, almost 700% run up from the March of 2020 lows. Now, the dollar did regain quite a bit of value, up 28.8%, but we are already starting to drop. And I do think that this is just the beginning. I think that we will go lower. I've been looking at a few levels of opportunity, but I'm expecting at least a 17% drawback on the US dollar just because there really isn't much backing it. And I do think that the petrodollar deal is weakening. But as we do look at crypto, historically, going all the way back in time, we have known that the US dollar has always signaled major run ups. For example, here's the topping point for the US dollar back in 2016 and 2017. Guess what ended up happening for crypto? The chart. I mean, this thing did a massive run up from the topping point. Here's the topping point for the US dollar. Again, did a 6,000% run up, all the way to the topping or the bottoming point for the US dollar. And then we had that bear market all the way until the topping point back in March. Boom, we go on a massive tear. There's a topping point in September. I do believe that our massive tear is beginning. This is just the start. In my opinion, we could very well be seeing something like 2017 and 2018 on a little bit of a larger scale. So something like, maybe something like this, where we do see a huge run up in the market and maybe we go to, massive highs or so. I can't tell you exactly where things are going to top out on, but I am expecting us to see 10 to 12 trillion dollars. 10 to 12 trillion dollars is possible. It all depends on how much liquidity and money flows into crypto. But I'm definitely focused on a lot of things. I'm not expecting a $1 million Bitcoin, but I do think that we have one of the most bullish narratives around crypto that we've seen in a very, very long time. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on if you guys more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join for Discord down in the description below. So it's up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are on this. Before this has been Nick. Peace out, guys.